Good morning, students. This is revision lecture for class 12 students, subject English, from book Vistas, chapter number 1, The Tiger King, which is written by Kalki. This story, The Tiger King, is a satire on the pride and stubbornness of those who are in power. The writer Kalki takes us to the days of autocratic and eccentric kings. These kings lived under the thumb rule of the British, hence they fear them. And most of the time, the rulers were not interested in serving the people and working for the welfare of the public. Instead, they spent their time in foolish pursuits. Now, students, I tell you the theme of the lesson. Animals and birds are as much part of the nature as human beings. The destruction of one species may not only lead to its extinction, but it will adversely affect the ecological balance. Those animals which serve as food for the wild animals will increase in large number if the beasts of the prey are wiped out. Each species, howsoever fierce, deadly, ferocious or poisonous, has its role in maintaining ecological balance in nature. Now, I tell you about the hero of the story, the main character of the story, the king of Pratibandhupuram. The Tiger King, the Maharaja of Pratibandhupuram, who was also known as His Highness Jamidar General Khalidar Major Satya Vigrahi Samrahi Maharaja Dhiraj Vishwabhushana Samrat Sir Jilani Jang Bahadur. When it was 10th day of his birth, the chief astrologers came at Pratibandhupuram, the royal court. The chief astrologer spoke, "The child will grow up to become the warrior of warriors, hero of heroes, champion of champions." But he bit his lips and swallowed something hard. When he was compelled to continue, the chief astrologer came out with these words, "This is a secret which should not be revealed at all, and yet we are forced to speak out. The child born under this star will one day have to meet its death." Then, at this moment, a great miracle took place. An astonishing phrase emerged from the lips of the 10 days old Jilani Jang Bahadur. He looked widely at the old wise prophet, and everybody stood transfixed. Transfixed means motionless. They looked at each other and blinked. The chief astrologer got very much surprised to listen very clear words spoken by 10 days old child. The 10 days old child asked the prophet to explain the manner of his death. He said, "It was quite common for all to die one day, but that would be meaningful if the chief astrologer would let him know the manner of his death." The chief astrologer took his fingers off his nose and fixed his eyes upon the little prince. The prince who was born in the hour of the bull. The bull and the tigers are enemies. Therefore, the astrologer declared that the death of this prince would come from a tiger only. After listening to these words spoken by the chief astrologer, the 10 days old child, Sir Jilani Jang Bahadur, gave a deep growl, and he spoke, "Let tigers beware." His upbringing was quite unique. This crown prince grew taller and stronger day by day, and no other miracle marked his childhood days apart from the event already described. The boy drank the milk of an English cow, was brought up by an English nanny, tutored in English by an English man, saw nothing but English films. When he came of age at 20, the state, which had been with the coat of wards, until then came into his hands. This prince was declared the king of Pratibandhapuram. But everyone in his kingdom remembered the astrologer's prediction, and they reminded this Maharaja also, and the Maharaja came to know that it was very quite good saying that you may kill even a cow in self-defense. Therefore, the Maharaja should not have any objection to killing tigers in his self-defense. The Maharaja started out on a tiger hunt. When he killed the first tiger, he summoned means called, the chief astrologer to show the dead beast. The chief astrologer was called in his court, and he showed very proudly the dead beast to that chief astrologer, who told him the manner of his death. But that chief astrologer continued by saying, "Your Majesty, you may kill 99 tigers in exactly the same manner, but you would not be killing the 100th tiger ever in your life." After listening to the words of the chief astrologer, it became a celebration time for all the tigers in Pratibandhapuram, because from that day onwards, the Maharaja declared that it would be only and only Maharaja for hunting tigers in Pratibandhapuram. The state banned tiger hunting by anyone except the Maharaja. A proclamation means declaration, announcement, was issued to this effect that if anyone dared to throw even a single stone at any tiger, all his wealth and property would be confiscated by the government. And the Maharaja vowed that he would attend to all other matters only after killing the 100th tiger. Initially, the king seemed well set to realize his ambition. During this tiger hunt, the Maharaja faced many dangers. There were times when the bullet missed its mark, the tiger leapt upon him, and he fought the beast with his bare hands. Each time, it was the Maharaja who won. At another time, the Maharaja was in danger of losing his throne. A high-ranking British officer visited Pratibandhapuram. He was also very fond of hunting tigers and fonder of being photographed with the tigers he had shot. So, he asked the Maharaja to permit him to go for tiger hunting in Pratibandhapuram. But the Maharaja refused. After listening to the refusal of the Maharaja, the British officer got very angry. The British officer's secretary sent word to the Maharaja through the Diwan that the Durai means English officer, himself did not have to kill the tiger. The Maharaja could do the actual killing. What was important to the Durai was a photograph of himself holding the gun and standing over the tiger's carcass. But the Maharaja did not agree even to this proposal. He thought if he relented means became mild, what would he do if other British officers turned up for tiger hunt? Then he thought over a technique of retaining his kingdom, because he thought now there is a fear of losing his throne. And now the Maharaja and the Diwan held deliberations. Deliberations means discussions over this issue. As a result of the discussion, a telegram was dispatched at once to a famous British company of jewelers in Calcutta. And the Maharaja asked the jeweler to send him the samples of 50 diamond rings. After some time, some 50 samples of different diamond rings arrived at Pratibandhapuram. The Maharaja sent the whole lot to the British officer's wife. The king and the minister expected that the wife of the British officer to choose one or two rings and send the rest back. Within no time at all, The British officer's wife sent her reply, "Thank you very much for your precious gifts." In 2 days, a bill for 3 lakhs of rupees came from the British jewelers. The Maharaja was happy that though he had lost 3 lakhs of rupees, but he had managed to retain his kingdom. Finally, he restarted his tiger hunt in Pratibandhpuram and he could kill altogether 70 tigers in his own state. The Maharaja's tiger hunts continued to be highly successful for 10 years. Altogether, in 10 years, he could kill 70 tigers, and then an unforeseen hurdle brought his mission to a standstill. What was that? That was the tiger population became extinct in the forests of Pratibandhpuram. These were the gloomy days of the Maharaja. The Maharaja did not expect this to happen in Pratibandhpuram, but he could do nothing. He kept on waiting, but he could not detect any other tiger after killing 70 tigers in his state. The Maharaja sent for the Diwan. The Diwan came and the Maharaja declared that he wanted to marry. The Maharaja gave a solid reason for getting married. He told the Diwan that the tiger population in Pratibandhpuram got extinct, but in order to fulfill his ambition of killing 100 tigers, he decided to marry a girl in the royal family of a state with a large tiger population. He asked the Diwan to draw up the statistics of tiger population in the different native states, and then he must investigate if there was a girl to whom the Maharaja could marry. The Diwan followed his orders and he started finding a suitable match for the Maharaja. He found the right girl from a state which possessed a large number of tigers. Finally, the king, the Maharaja, got married to fulfill his desire of killing 100 tigers. Maharaja killed 5 or 6 tigers each time he visited his father-in-law. In this manner, he could kill 99 tigers. 70 tigers he already killed in Pratibandhpuram, and rest 29 tigers he killed in his father-in-law's state. And 99 tiger skins adorned the walls of the reception hall in the Pratibandhpuram palace. Now he was searching for the 100th tiger to be killed. The Maharaja's anxiety reached a fever pitch when there remained just one tiger to achieve his tally of 100. He had this one thought during the day and the same dream at night. By this time, the tiger farms had run dry even in his father-in-law's kingdom. Now, it became almost impossible for the Maharaja to locate any other tiger anywhere. Then, he reminded the prediction of the chief astrologer that told him even after killing 99 tigers, the Maharaja should beware of the 100th. True enough it was. The tiger was a savage. Savage means wild beast after all. One had to be very much careful for it. But the Maharaja sank in gloom because it became almost impossible for the Maharaja to find one more tiger. But his gloom ended very soon. Soon the Maharaja got a good news. What was that? It was told by some villagers to the Maharaja that they had seen one tiger in the jungles. The villagers informed the Maharaja that there was a sheep disappeared from the jungle, so definitely there would be one tiger that is disappearing sheep from the jungles of Pratibandhpuram. This news made Maharaja very happy. Then the Maharaja announced that a 3-year exemption from all the taxes will be given to the village, and he would go to set out on the hunt at that very moment only. Therefore, the Maharaja started moving towards the jungle from where the news came. The tiger was not easily found there. It seemed as if it had wantonly hid itself in order to thwart the Maharaja's will. The Maharaja was equally determined. He refused to leave the forest until the tiger was found. Therefore, the Maharaja decided to stay in that very jungle day and night. As the days passed, the Maharaja's fury and obstinacy mounted alarmingly. And one day, his rage was at its height. Rage means anger. The Maharaja called the Diwan and he ordered him to double up the land tax for all the villagers there. Then the people became very discontented with the Maharaja. The Diwan started feeling bad for the decision taken by the Maharaja. The Maharaja told the Diwan that he would definitely ask all the British officers as well as the people at high post to resign from their services, and even the Diwan to resign from his job if the Maharaja would not be able to find the last tiger to be killed by him. The Diwan went home convinced that if the Maharaja did not find the tiger soon, the results could be catastrophic. Due to the fear of losing his own job, finally the Diwan arranged for the 100th tiger. He decided to sacrifice for his own pet tiger to satisfy the Maharaja. He thought now he would drop his own pet tiger which he brought from the People's Park in Madras and kept hidden in his house for many years. At midnight, he, along with his wife, dragged that old tiger to the car and pushed it roughly into the seat. The Diwan himself drove the car straight to the forest where the Maharaja was hunting. There, the Diwan was thoroughly exhausted in his efforts to drag the beast out of his car and push it down to the ground. Then, the next morning, the Maharaja was informed that there a wandering tiger had been seen by someone. The Maharaja felt very happy. He reached the place and took carefully aim at the beast. The tiger fell in a crumpled heap. He crashed into many folds. The Maharaja was overjoyed after killing that tiger, and he declared that his woe had been fulfilled. The Maharaja was overcome with the elation. Elation means joy and excitement, and he ordered his people to bring the dead skin of that tiger to the capital in grand possession. After the Maharaja left, the hunters went to take a closer look at the tiger. The tiger looked back at them, rolling its eyes in bafflement. The men realized that the tiger was not dead. They found it alive because the Maharaja's bullet had missed it. It had fainted from the shock of the bullet whizzing past. The hunters wondered what they should do now. They decided that the Maharaja must not come to know that he had missed his target. If he did, they could lose their jobs. One of the hunters took aim from a distance of 1 foot and shot the tiger. This time, he killed it without missing his mark. Finally, the last tiger, the 100th tiger, was killed by one of the hunters of the Maharaja, but not by the Maharaja himself. After killing that tiger in the jungle, the Maharaja came back to his kingdom, and as commanded by him, the dead tiger was taken in procession through the town and buried. A tomb was erected over it. Erected means raised. A few days later, the Maharaja's son's 3rd birthday was celebrated. Until then, the Maharaja had given his entire mind over to tiger hunting. This time, the Maharaja decided to gift something to his 3 years old child on his birthday. He went to the shopping center in Pratibandhpuram and searched every shop, but couldn't find anything suitable. Finally, the Maharaja spotted a wooden tiger in a toy shop and decided it was the perfect gift for his 3 years old boy. The wooden tiger cost only 1 and a quarter, but the shopkeeper knew if he quoted such a low price to the Maharaja, he would be punished under the rules of emergency. Therefore, that shopkeeper told the Maharaja that it was an extremely rare example of craftsmanship, a bargain of 300 rupees. The Maharaja felt very happy. He brought that gift for his son at home and he started playing with his son and that tiny little wooden tiger. It had been carved by an unskilled carpenter. Its surface was rough. Tiny slivers of wood stood up like quills all over it, and one of those slivers means thin pieces of wood, pierced the Maharaja's right hand, and he pulled it out with his left hand and continued to play with the prince. But the next day, infection flared in the Maharaja's right hand. In 4 days, it developed into a flowing of pus which spread all over the arm. Then 3 famous surgeons were brought in from Madras. After holding a consultation, they decided to operate on the Maharaja. The operation took place. The 3 surgeons who performed it came out of the theatre and announced the operation was successful and the Maharaja is dead. In this manner, children, the 100th tiger took its final revenge upon the Tiger King. In such a manner, the Tiger King reached to its end. And actually, children, let's conclude this story. The story of Kalki is a satire on the conceit of those in power. And Kalki has employed the literary devices of dramatic irony to prove the same satire onto the conceit of those in power. Actually, children, this chapter teaches us that we need a new system for the age of ecology, a system which is embedded in the care of all the people and also in the care of the earth and all life upon it. Now, children, I hope this recapitulation of the Tiger King was more than enough to make you understand this chapter in a better manner. And on the basis of understanding the chapter, you are supposed to answer this revision assignment reflected on the screen, in which you have 7 questions to be answered in 30 to 40 words each. And there are 2 long answer type questions to be answered in 120 to 150 words each. Children, you are supposed to answer these questions in rough notebook, and the next day you'll get the solution on your website so that you can match your answers with the right ones and can copy the right answers in your Fair English notebooks. Thank you. Have a nice day.